Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Professor Sistrunk and I'm reaching out to the student body. Okay, you know what this is. This is actually practice. Remember, you have to practice if you want that high-paying job. You have to practice now. So this particular packet tracer will be implement basic connectivity. One of the things you want to walk away from this packet tracer is 1, do I know all of the commands that the professor has walked me through thus far? And 2, am I practicing every day? Because I know that at the end of this journey through college, I will be out there working in the field. Practice. Let's take a look at the environment. So we have right here, we have topology looking real good, simple. We have already been through this several times. We have the addressing table. We're going to actually get a chance to set this up now. And then we have the objectives. We want to perform a basic configuration on switch 1 and 2. We want to configure a PC, and then we want to configure the switch management interface. We're going to get a chance to do that. The scenario is simple. In this activity, you will first create a basic switch configuration. Then you will implement basic connectivity by configuring IP addressing on switches and PCs. When the IP addressing configuration is complete, you will use various show commands to verify the connectivity and use the ping command to verify basic connectivity between devices. So that right there tells us that we have 2 commands that are extremely important in checking on our devices. So when you look at your exam, remember ping and show commands will be 2 of the most important commands that you use in your career. So let's move on. The first thing our instructors to do: perform a basic configuration on switch 1 and switch 2. So we have to go up here and look at our topology and begin to graft out our topology. I'm gonna come to my devices. I'm gonna click on network devices first, and I'm gonna go click on switches. I will still use the 2960s. They are important in this class, so we're gonna continue to use them. We're gonna throw 2960s up there. So we have our switches now. The next thing I want to do is go get my PC. So I am going to come over here and click on in devices and grab the PC. Excellent. Here go the PC. Now, you know I need my cables, or as we say in the industry, the media. Okay, so now I'm going to go get my connectors. I'm going to click on the connectors. And I'm going to come here and go to PC1, and I'm going to say Fast Ethernet, and I am going to put that on Fast Ethernet 1. And then I'm going to get a connector again. I'm going to go 2, and I'm going to go over here and click on 2. I just like keeping my stuff in order, so that's why I'm doing that. In the real world, we all over the place, so don't get caught up on that. The next thing I'm gonna do is grab another connector, Fast Ethernet, and then I'm gonna click on 1. So that's my order of the day right there. Now I'm gonna speed this up so I can get rid of all these lights. I'm gonna go click here. Remember I showed you this in the last lab. Booyah, there we go. So everything is connecting and working well. So now that we have it, we can perform basic configuration on switch 1 and switch 2. So basic configuration simply means for switch 1 is to simply configure this switch. Now, what do we mean by we want to do a basic configuration? It means that I want to put some things in there that should be in there. Like I want to give it the host name, etc., etc., etc. So let's go into switch 1. And if you notice, I haven't named these switches. Let's go ahead and name the switches real quick. I'm gonna put switch 1, and this is on the outside of the switch just so you can know which one you're working with. And I'm gonna make this switch 2, S2. Okay, and of course I'm gonna make this PC1, you know, just for the fun of it, make it 1, and then come over here and make this 2. Okay, make this 2. Oh, it's saying we already have a 1, so I need to change this first. See how the system allows you to know when you make an error? That's a good thing. We want that. Okay, so I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna go to the CLI, and I'm at the command console. So being at the command console, the first thing I need to make sure that I can enable T, which is configuration terminal, and then I want to give it a name. So I'm gonna say host name, and I'm gonna say S1. Why not S1? So you will see the name change. As you can see, I gave this S1. Now I'm gonna close this and just come right over here and do the same thing. So you're gonna see me moving backwards and forward on each switch and each PC to make sure that I just configure them in sync. I like doing mine in sync. It's another way that I'm gonna show you. You can do it faster, but this right now is good enough. So I'm gonna say host name. Now you see I'm abbreviating it. I'm using my abbreviations, and I'm gonna make this 2, and I'm gonna hit enter, and that's done. So now we got switch 1 and we got switch 2 named appropriately. So what's the next basic configuration that I want to put in here? Well, the next basic configuration, if we read right here, it says configure S1 with a host name. We completed that task. The next thing it says, so as you can see, it says configure the console and encrypted privileged exec mode password. So we're gonna go ahead and throw in a couple of passwords. So we're gonna come back here, and then we already in config mode. So why not just go ahead and put in, you know what this should be, line console, because we're doing the console 0. Then we're gonna say password, because we putting the password, we putting the password on the console, and I'm gonna just say let me in, just to have a little joke. And then I am gonna say log in. Now we have to put log in because we know that this will be at the login. And with that, I'm gonna say exit, and then I'm gonna say exit again. Now I'm gonna go over to switch 2 and do the same thing. As you can see, we up here, line console 0, and then I'm gonna go ahead and say password let me in, and there we go. And then I'm gonna say log in. Remember, we got to put that log in for it to work, and exit. Okay, so we have that in there. Close that out. So now the next thing it asks is use class for the privileged exec mode password. I just use the same. So we're gonna go to privileged exec mode, but like I didn't use CISCO, I said let me in. I'm gonna use pretty much the same thing here. So let's go back in and put that password in. This time we will actually go config T. Okay, so we add config T. We're gonna say enable, because we going to the next password, and I'm gonna say the same thing, let me in. Okay, and if it don't work, I'll change it, but it should work. There we go. And I'm gonna say exit. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna go over to this switch 2 and do the same exact thing. Okay, I'm at switch 2. I'm gonna say what I want to do at switch 2. I want to put the privileged exec mode in at switch 2. So I'm gonna go to config. We gotta put in config, and from here I'm gonna type in, of course, we're gonna type in enable password, and I'm gonna say let me in too. You see I'm using the same password. This is simply because I know this is practice. We would not use this in the real world. This is just practice, practice, practice. Okay, I have that in. So I was able to drop those in too, and you can see it right there. Now you see that we got both of these passwords in there. It says verify the password configuration. How can you verify that both passwords were configured correctly? Now, of course, I can just log out to verify, but that wouldn't be the smart thing to do if I logged out. Because if I logged out and couldn't get back in, I'll be in trouble, especially if I'm working. So what I want to do is just say show and start thinking about these type of things, because some people will just log out and try to log back in. Show run, and in show run, you can see that I got the passwords in there. Okay, so that's one right there. So you know that that's how you find out. You use your commands to find this stuff out. You just don't, as you can see the password right here, you just don't log out and say, well, I'm gonna log out and log back in, and that's how I know. That will be super dangerous. So you don't want to do that. And just remember that I'm gonna put show run here too. Okay, excuse me for that, show man. I don't know where that came from. And there go the password right there. And then I'm gonna come on down here and see the next one. Okay, and there you go right there. Okay, so that's how I'm able to verify my passwords to make sure everything is correct. But you do not want to just log out and say, I'm gonna log out and log back in. Now, I could log out. Watch this. I'm gonna say exit, and I'm logged out. Now I need a password, right? But if I did this and I didn't put the password in correctly, this will be dangerous because I wouldn't be able to get in. So we want to always verify the password. So I typed in let me in, and then I'm gonna do it here. Let me in. And there you go. I am back into the system. And that's how we know our passwords actually work. So we was able to see that. Okay, let's see what else we got to do here. Now it says put a banner. If you notice, it's not giving you the commands like it previous gave you the command, because this is when you're in learning mode. We want you to start learning how to do these particulars. So now we finna go ahead and put our banner in to make sure that we have a banner. And you know what the banner is for? The banner is to protect us from some malice character who can cause problems. So of course I gotta come back to the configuration mode, and now that I'm in configuration mode, I'm just gonna type in banner to make sure I get this in. And the banner is to ward off people who would harm the system. That's what it's for, to ward off people who would try to harm the system. And of course, you'll put something in there that will let them know that you are particularly going to go to jail for messing around in here. And that's what the banner is to do, to let people know you didn't make a mistake going into our system. You did it on purpose, and because of that, you have to face the proper authorities for your foolishness. Okay, so you know, this is a way to stop them. Now, will it stop them? No, you got some incredible hackers out there, and these guys do not play games. That's why you got to make sure you have the best equipment, and configure your equipment correctly, and make sure your equipment is up to date with patches and everything, because these guys are not playing out there. So we were able to do that. Let's go over to the switch 2 and do the same thing. You see me bouncing back and forth. This is normally how I do things. I don't like to waste time. I like to get to the point. So if you keep it up, you good, but just slow the video down. If you feel that I'm moving too fast, just slow it down, and you know, you'll be able to keep up. It's no big thing. No big thing. Okay, so let's get this banner in there so that it will be configured correctly. Okay, and let's go ahead and put the right information in there. So we'll let these guys know, do not do this. Do not hack me. Yeah, it's incredible what's happening out there now, but I am going to start running some and if you're interested in that, just let me know, professorsistrunk@gmail.com. But if you're interested, I am going to run my security classes again, and I want you guys to be able to take some security classes. You know, I got to get it up and rolling. Okay, so there we go. We had a banner in there. So we were able to put a banner in there with no problem, and to ward off the evil people. And I wouldn't so much say the evil, it's just some people out there who doing some things. Okay, so we have all of that in. It says repeat steps 1 to 5 on 2. So I did all that already. I repeated the steps. I did them both together. You saw me do it. What we could do is just come in here and just do a show run just to make sure that I was able to put it in. I'm gonna just go in there real quick, say show run, and there you go. And you can see that I have my banner in there and all the other things that I need to put in here. Okay, we looking good. We're looking good. Now I'm gonna go ahead and save this to the startup configuration, because it says right here, which command do you use to accomplish this step? Saving to NVRAM. I'm gonna put in copy, and I'm gonna make this short to run start, and there you go. I got copy run start. I saved it over there. I'm gonna go over here and do the same thing. I am gonna say copy run start to get that in there. Okay, so now I save my configuration. Now here is where we go to another level. These next few steps is going to be new things that we bring into you, so I hope you watch the video all the way through. It's important that you go through the entire video log. Okay, so now in this particular case, it wants us to configure PCs 1 and 2 with IP addresses. So the best way to do that is, now we're going to go to the PCs, and we're going to go to desktop, and we're going to click here, and we just basically going to put the IP address in. So as you can see here, it says PC1, and here's the IP address for PC1. But even if it wasn't here, I know I can go up to here and see the IP addresses. And all I got to do, I'm putting it in statically. It's a difference between the way you put the IP addresses in. One, you can do DHCP, and the other one you can do static. We're going to use static until we set up our DHCP server. So right now we're going to do static. So with that being said, for PC1, you got 1 here, 192.168.1, and you got 192.168.2 for PC2. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that in, 192.168.1.1. And if you just hit your tab key on your keyboard, it automatically put in the subnet mask. Okay, so that is done. I'm gonna go ahead and close that out, and I'm gonna go to PC2 and do the same thing. Go here to desktop, go to IP config, and do the same thing. Just type in 192.168.1.2. Hit my tab key, and it automatically puts in my subnet mask, and then that's done too. Close that out. So my PCs have IP addresses, but now I want to make sure that not only do my PC have IP addresses, I want to also come here and test connectivity to switches. So I'm gonna go ahead and ping. So I'm gonna come back to my PC, and from my PC I'm gonna go to the command prompt. You know this command prompt because it's on your regular PC, it's on your regular desktop computer. So all I'm gonna do is type in the command ping, and then I'm gonna say it wants to check connectivity to the switch. So I'm gonna type this in because I know I haven't configured the switches yet with IP addresses. So I'm finna check this to see what's happening. It's gonna say, were you successful? And it should be no. I should have a no there. So I'm gonna type in 192.168.1.253. Now this should not be successful. It should just say no, I didn't get connected. And you can tell that it's the request timeout right there. And I should have 3 more. It should be a total of 4 request times out. So I'll know that I wasn't successful. So the next thing I want to do is go configure the switch so I can have that connection. So I'm gonna close this out and go down. Now I'm gonna put on what they call, this is a new thing, people, so we got new stuff coming at us. Configure the switch management interface. We're gonna configure S1 and S2 with the switch management config interface. So I'm gonna come here, and the sweet part about this, they give you this information right here. So it says switches can be used as plug and play devices. This means that means that when we say switches are plug and play devices, that simply means that the moment you plug a switch in, it's working, it's up and going. The moment I put these connectors to the switch, it's working, it's up and going. That's plug and play. But we need to always configure our switches. We should not have a functioning switch inside of our network environment and it's not configured, especially with the switch management interface. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and set that up. So I'm gonna go here on the switch and actually configure it in here. So the first thing I'm gonna do is just say config T, right? We know we got to do that to get into the configuration mode. And then we're going to say interface. And I'm not going to shortchange this. I'm going to spell it all the way out until it tells me to do it. That way you guys will be riding right with me. You know, I keep hyping on learn your commands. Learn your commands. You need to know them. So I got that in there. And then I'm going to say IP address. Okay. And I'm going to put in that IP address 192.168.1.253. And there it is right there. But now that I'm configuring this switch, I cannot hope that the subnet mask gonna pop in. So I got to put the subnet mask in manually. Remember that, manually. So I'm doing 255.255.255.0, okay? And I'm gonna hit enter. So there go my subnet mask, and I'm gonna say no shutdown. Now what no shutdown do is actually turn this device on. Okay, so there go no shutdown, and you see right here the line for VLine 1, it's up. Okay, so I was able to turn that device on. Now I can exit up out of here. Okay, there, and then I can go exit again, and we out of there. So now I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna close that out, and I'm gonna come back here and see if I can ping this device now. Now this ping should work. It should work. So there go the IP address. All I did was hit my up arrow key because I knew I typed it in there previously. I'm gonna hit enter and see what happened. The first one should say request timed out. Oh, well, it didn't do that. The first one didn't do that. So it showed you. Now you can see I was able to reach out to that switch from my PC. I'm on my PC, PC1, and I'm reaching my switch. And I can do the same configuration for the next switch too. So this here was really a simple way to learn how to configure a switch and a PC. Of course, I can go over here and configure the next switch, but I'm not going to do that. This is getting a bit long, but I wanted to just show you the basics of how to do it. It says, why do you enter the no shutdown. If that line was down, we wouldn't see that. So no shutdown allows us to turn that port on, turn that line on. Okay, it says here now, show IP interface brief. So I want to go here and I want to do two things here. I want to go show IP interface. Okay, you see me typing it out. Brief, and this will show you, just like I put my mouse pointer over there, this will show you that that VLAN 1 has an IP address. And look, it says up and up. So you see that right there. The status is up, the protocol is up. What it really means is, one, I configured this with an IP address, and it's up, and I also got my media connected to it, and it's up. That's what that means. If one of them are down, and that's one of the troubleshooting techniques you need to know. If one of them is down, you're gonna have problems. So now let's go ahead and do show run to show you it's in here too. So them are two new commands you learned right there. You were able to learn these new commands. Right here in the last part of this, it wants you to ping these different devices. I'm not going to do that right now because I just showed you the ping command. This is Professor CISCO, and I'm going to let you go now, but practice. This is what makes you good in the end.